You know, in industries like healthcare and finance, a single data breach, well, it can be absolutely catastrophic. So today, we're going to take a look at a platform called Nexion. It claims it can stop these breaches before they even get started by being compliance first. So let's dive in and see what that really means. And Nexion kicks things off with this statement right here. If sensitive data reaches storage unprotected, compliance already failed. Wow, I mean, that really gets right to the heart of their whole philosophy, doesn't it? If you work in healthcare or finance or insurance, this idea probably hits pretty close to home. It's basically saying the old way of handling data, it's just fundamentally broken. The whole point isn't to clean up a compliance mess after it happens. It's to make sure it can't happen in the first place. Okay, and this slide? It lays out that core difference perfectly. So on the left, you've got the traditional way of doing things, right? You pull in data, you store it, and then maybe you get around to classifying and masking it. You see that gap between storing it and protecting it? Yeah, that's your danger zone. But Nexion, well, it completely flips the script. It forces the compliance rules to run as the data is coming in before it even touches a hard drive. See, protection isn't an afterthought anymore. It's the price of admission. So, this old reactive way of doing things, it creates this constant problem. And Nexion has a name for it, the compliance data tracker. And this really gets to the heart of the matter, timing. You know, you hear a lot of platforms talk about compliance at rest. But think about it. The second that raw, unprotected patient data or financial info gets written to a disk, even for just a millisecond, you've opened a window for something bad to happen. Sure, an audit trail can tell you what went wrong, but it can't unring that bell. And that, right there, is the trap. So, the big question is, how do you get out of this trap? Well, Nexion's answer is a totally different way of thinking about the problem. It's a new philosophy they call runtime enforcement. Okay, let's unpack that. Compliance at execution time. What does it mean? It means your governance policies aren't just suggestions sitting in a dusty binder or some tags in a catalog. No, they are live, automated rules that run in real time as the data is moving. It's like compliance becomes a bouncer at the door that checks every piece of data before it's allowed in, not a detective that shows up after the party is trashed. And this is a really important distinction. See, a traditional data catalog is great. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome for writing down all your rules and documenting what is supposed to happen with your data. But Nexion's whole argument is that it takes that crucial next step. It actually enforces those rules automatically, every single time. It's really the difference between having a map and having a self-driving car that actually follows it.
All right, so that's the big idea, the philosophy. But how does Nexion actually pull this off? Well, the whole architecture is built on two core concepts, something they call data pods and a really powerful protection engine.
So, a data pod. I want you to think of it as way more than just a database. It's more like a smart, secure container, a digital vault, really. It holds not just your data, but it also wraps it up with all the specific rules that govern it. You know, rules for quality, for compliance, for who gets to see what. Literally nothing gets in unless it passes those checks. That's what they mean by a hard execution boundary. And this comparison here, it just makes the difference so obvious. A traditional dataset is, well, kind of passive. Its only job is to store stuff. The rules, they're written down somewhere else, and making sure they're followed is, well, it's often a manual job that relies on a lot of hope. But a Nexion data pod is active. Its job is storage plus enforcement. The rules are baked right in, and they run on their own, turning what was just passive data into a fully governed, trustworthy data product.
And of course, these pods aren't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. You can actually set them up with specific compliance levels. So you could have a general pod for your regular analytics data, a PII pod for customer info, a PHI pod that's locked down with HIPAA rules for patient data, and even a PCI pod for handling payments. Each one automatically brings a tougher set of protections to the table.
So, what are these protections that are actually running inside the pods? Well, that brings us to their PII/PHI protection engine. And at its core, you've got 7 different configurable ways to lock down sensitive data fields, each one tailored for a specific job. And here are the heavy hitters. You basically get a whole toolkit to play with. You can mask data, hide parts of it but keep the format, which is perfect for UIs. You can hash it, which is useful for things like finding duplicate records. You can encrypt it for ironclad security. Or you can tokenize it, which is really the gold standard for payment card data, where you swap a credit card number for a safe, useless token. But here's where the real magic is, the automation. Think about it. You don't have to go digging through millions of records by hand, trying to find every single social security number or patient ID. Nexion's engine just finds them for you. It comes pre-trained to spot all 18 identifiers you need for HIPAA's safe harbor, plus a whole bunch of other common sensitive data types. I mean, this is a huge time saver, and it cuts down your risk immensely. Okay, so we've got our foundation, right? Your data is coming in, it's getting protected, and it's being stored safely in these governed data pods. But data isn't really useful if it's just sitting in a vault. So what can you actually build on top of all this? This is where things get really cool. Nexion calls these applications verticals. And a vertical can be pretty much anything: a web app, an API, a dashboard, you name it. But here's the secret sauce. These apps never touch the raw, sensitive data directly. There's a secure gateway in the middle that automatically enforces all the rules from the data pod. What that means is your developers are basically working in a safe sandbox, completely separated from the sensitive info. And this whole setup is just incredibly flexible. You can spin up secure web apps for your customers. You can build out API services to connect your systems. You can create internal dashboards for your BI teams. You can even give your data scientists a safe ML sandbox to work in. And you can do all of this without ever worrying about accidentally exposing sensitive data. So let's make this a little more concrete. Imagine you're a healthcare company. You could build a patient portal where people can see their test results, but all the super sensitive stuff is automatically blacked out. Or if you're in finance, you could build a reporting API that gives auditors exactly what they need while automatically masking all the customer PII. The best part? Your developers get to focus on building cool features instead of having to become compliance lawyers. Okay, let's bring this all together. We've seen the problem, we've seen their solution, so what's the bottom line here? What really is the Nexion difference? The classic before and after shot. And this slide just nails it. That column on the left, that's the painful reality for so many dev teams right now, isn't it? Manually coding PII masking, building custom access controls from the ground up, writing audit logs for everything. It's slow, it's expensive, and honestly, it's super risky. But with Nexion, all of that critical security stuff is just part of the platform. It's applied automatically. The result? You get to build stuff way faster with way less risk. When you boil it all down, Nexion isn't trying to be just another tool in your toolbox. It's trying to be the toolbox. It wants to replace that complex, messy stack of different tools you have now. So instead of duct taping together an ETL tool, a data catalog, and a bunch of custom compliance scripts, they're offering one single unified place where governance and actually doing things happen at the same time. And this all brings us to the final question they want you to ask yourself. It's a real challenge, actually, to how you think about your own data strategy. Is your compliance just a checkbox you tick off, something you only really worry about when the auditors come knocking? Or is it an automated, unbreakable rule that's enforced every single time your data moves right from the very beginning? Nexion is betting that if you're in a regulated industry, there's really only one right answer to that question.